Hello and welcome to this session on the topic demand analysis. In this video, we'll be discussing about what is demand, law of demand, demand curve, and what factor causes shift in the demand curve. Before jumping into the topic, I would like to give one example of demand. Suppose you go to buy vegetables and you ask for 2 kg of pumpkin to the shopkeeper, which cost you Rs 50 per kg. Here, you are demanding a certain quantity of product at a certain price. The quantity demanded here is 2 kg and the price is Rs 50. So moving on to the definition of demand, it refers to the quantity of the commodity which the customer is willing to buy at a particular price during a particular time period. So, by having knowledge regarding the demand of the product, it helps business managers make more informed and sound decisions. To know how demand works, we must first understand the law of demand. As discussed in the previous example, the two factors involved in demand are price and quantity. Law of demand describes the relationship between these two factors, which is price and quantity demand. So, the law of demand explains that there is always an inverse or indirect relationship between quantity demanded and price. That means when price increases, the quantity demand decreases and vice versa. There are some assumptions of the law of demand. Law of demand holds true if only these factors are in place. They are: the price of related goods should be constant. The income of the consumers remain unchanged. Consumers' taste and preferences remain the same. Number of the population remains the same. All the units of the goods are homogeneous. And commodities should be normal goods. Now, let's move on to the demand curve. Demand curve is basically the graphical representation of the relationship between price and quantity demanded at various levels. We can better understand this concept with the help of figures. In this slide, we will be deriving the demand curve for commodity X. Suppose you go to buy commodity X. When the price is 10, you will demand 300 units of X. As we know that while the price increases, the quantity demand will decrease. We plot the price and quantity in the graph. So, with the increase in price to 20, the quantity demand decreases to 200, and similarly, when the price reaches 30, the quantity demand becomes 100. So, with the help of quantity demand at different price level, we can derive the demand curve. The red line indicates the demand curve, which is downward sloping to the right. In the previous slide, we derived the demand curve. Different factors cause shift in the demand curve. If there is change in non-price factors, then it will cause a shift in demand curve. And if there is change in price, then there will be movement along the demand curve itself. Now, we will learn what are the different factors which will lead to shift in demand curve. It will make you clear. The first factor that causes shift in demand curve is income of the consumer. With the increase in income, consumers have more purchasing power, which means they can afford more quantity with the same price. So, as a result, the demand curve increases and shifts rightward. Similarly, with a decrease in income, the demand curve also decreases, which shifts the demand curve to the left. Similarly, another factor that causes shift in demand curve is consumer taste and preferences. Products that consumers prefer will obviously have more demand, which will shift the curve rightwards. And the products that does not fall in consumer taste and preference will have lower demand, that shifts the demand curve to the left. Another factor is the price of related goods. Related goods can be either complements or substitutes. So, if the product is complements. For example, like if the demand of cars increases, the demand for petroleum products will also increase. This will shift the demand curve of petroleum products to the right. Similarly, in case of substitute, for example tea and coffee, if the demand for one product increases, the demand for substitute products will decrease, which will lead the curve to shift towards the left. So moving on, customer expectation is also one factor that causes a shift in demand curve. So when a customer expects that the price of the commodity will rise in near future, he or she tends to buy more of that product now. So the demand will increase, causing a rightward shift to the curve. Similarly, when the customer expects that the price is going to fall in future, they will try to purchase as low as possible, which decreases the demand, causing a leftward shift to the demand curve. Now let's summarize what we learned till now in this video. Demand refers to the total quantity a consumer is willing to buy at a certain price. Law of demand shows the relationship between quantity demanded and price, while demand curve is the graphical representation showing relationship between, again, price and quantity demanded. And there is a shift in demand curve with changes in various factors such as income, preferences, price of related goods, and expectation of consumers. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thank you for your time and we will see you in our next session.